Toxicity Logan here. Right now I'm on the road to buying a GTX 1070, but that's no small order to fill. Of course, the 1070 is not a budget gaming option, and if you've watched any of my other videos, you can tell I'm a budget gamer. So essentially, I have to take my budget PC and upgrade it to fit less budget parts. So far, I've upgraded my power supply, check out that video here, doubled my RAM from 8 gigs to 16, and my final step is to improve my CPU cooler. The CPU cooler I chose was the Cooler Master Hyper 212 EVO. This is a solid gaming option for an unbeatable price, only about $25. Now, of course, the budget gaming option would be to use the stock CPU cooler, but that won't do you any good in a heavy gaming environment. Now onto the part you guys all want to hear. From experience, the Hyper 212 EVO is really quiet. I don't even hear it over my other case fans. My PC in general is just a much quieter unit. It has a huge heatsink. This means that the heat from your CPU has more space to spread out and be taken away by cool air from the fan. Plus, the aluminum heatsink is attached to 4 copper heat pipes, which come in direct contact with the actual CPU itself. This allows for direct, efficient heat transfer throughout the unit. The fan is 120 millimeters. Many stock and even aftermarket CPU coolers only have about an 80 millimeter fan. Then some go overboard and slap on a 160 millimeter fan. Like, who has the space for that and a heatsink? The 120 millimeter PWM fan pushes a ton of air across the heatsink, and the combination of a large heatsink and lots of airflow makes for an efficient and effective CPU cooler. One fan not good enough for you? Well, the kit comes with a mounting bracket for a second fan. The pricing is unbeatable. 144HzMonitors.com lists the Cooler Master Hyper 212 EVO as the best CPU cooler for the money. The money to quality ratio and the money to performance ratio is much better than most other coolers. Then an article on Lifehacker.com by Alan Henry lists the 5 best CPU coolers. These coolers are all listed as exceptionally well performing, quiet, and good looking. Among them obviously is the Cooler Master Hyper 212 EVO. Of the readers who nominated CPU coolers for this article, many claimed the EVO was worth the money, reliable, and near inaudible. The EVO also received the most votes for Best CPU Cooler by users. And among the 4 other coolers on this list, the EVO is the cheapest. In a nutshell, this is a freaking awesome CPU cooler. It keeps your processor much cooler and much happier. Not only games, but everything runs more smoothly that way. But there are a couple downsides to this cooler. Now, even though I said that the 120mm fan is a good size, the entire unit is huge. The heatsink itself is about 155mm tall, whereas my case is limited to about 150mm. But thankfully, the bulge inside of my case saved me from any space issues. The size of the unit and the very vague instruction manual can make for a difficult installation. Now, this is true for any CPU cooler. Installation is stressful, but the horrible instruction manual and the overall enormity of this unit can increase that stress. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a really simple installation, as long as you know what you're doing. Despite some minor downsides, this is still a solid and reliable CPU cooler. Just remember that your CPU cooler is your CPU's insurance policy. Don't cheap out on your cooler, but also make sure to spend your money wisely. The EVO is quiet, inexpensive, and gets the job done. If you're looking to improve your CPU performance without breaking the bank, then the Hyper 212 EVO is for you.